Hello, everybody. Hopefully you're all having a good time. Well, that's all I got, so have a great day. Alrighty, so, I don't know what the hell we're doing up here.
Hold on a second, okay?
No pressure.
Not at all. That was a long walk, sorry. I've been getting my steps in today. So, we are here to talk about ghost hunting, yes?
Well, I hate that name, I gotta be honest.
Right?
I do hate that name. It's paranormal investigating. Investigating claims of the paranormal.
There you go. So, talk about that. People say, oh, it's ghost hunting, it's this, it's that, we're looking for demons. That's all kind of different, right? Right out of the bag.
You know what? Let's be honest. I don't care whether you're religious or not. This whole thing about demons is such bullshit. Let's be honest. Come on, guys. I believe that there's negative things out there, but if you seem to find one in every freaking episode you do, is there any truth behind it? There's so much bullcrap on TV, on YouTube, and everything else. And it doesn't help the field. It hurts it. It pushes it back. It's like everybody, I'm battling a demon, I'm doing that. Jesus Christ, give me a break.
You're not charmed, right?
It's like they're not really investigating.
Right.
So that's, every little, oh my God, it's something. Instead of like asking over and over again for these, for the same thing. Do it again. They don't do that. So I don't.
Google has a system that you can actually go in and see keywords and how much they've jumped up. And just in the last 4 years, the word demon has jumped up over 30,000%. That's because everybody types it into their freaking headline thinking that that's what's going to draw people there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do anything. It's ridiculous.
So you've been here before to Evansville, Willard Library. We have a great lady. What was your experience like?
Well, I don't think the library wants us back.
It went that well.
Well, no, here's the thing. So, when you call us in, I'm not there to be your friend. I'm not there to tell you what you want to hear. I'm there to try to figure out what's going on. So you're either going to love me or hate me, but it's going to be for my honesty. So the fact of the matter is, when we investigated Willard Library, we didn't catch much. Now that's not saying they don't have anything, but that's just saying while we were there, this is what we were able to document, this is what we were able to disprove and figure out. So from there, the paranormal doesn't work on cue. So things could be going on, it just didn't go on when we were there. So when you call us in, we're there to try to figure out what's happening or what could be causing these things, and we're going to let you know the truth on that. So not a lot happened when we were there. And it was well before Sherry's time.
Yeah,
So.
Maybe we should visit when we leave here. Just see what's happening. What's up with Willard? So when you go in to investigate, why would someone call you in? Are they hearing something? Do they see something move? An apparition?
I think a little bit of everything. People have whatever experiences that people have, whether they see things, hear things, feel things. They're always calling us in because they're nervous. So we go in there and of course we check every claim that they have possible, seeing if we can disprove it or find alternate answers for it. If not, of course, we always investigate, try to see if we can communicate with anybody and just kind of get to the bottom of it and, help our clients as much as possible so that they feel comfortable.
Are there situations where it's only affecting them, and so what would you do?
Well, yeah, I think when it comes down to it depends. When you go into an investigation, when somebody calls you into their home, there's a whole side of TAPS that isn't televised. So we do the show Ghost Hunters, but there's TAPS and there's TAPS affiliate groups all around the world.
And explain what TAPS is.
Well, TAPS is the Atlantic Paranormal Society, and it's a group that I started back in 1990s, and it's because back then, so we used to be Rhode Island Paranormal Society, a little group, and we did all these investigations, but for whatever reason, we started off at a perfect time online where even back then when it was AOL, we were getting 20, 30,000 hits a day. To one point, I did a show for Nippon Television Tokyo, and we crashed AOL because of the amount of people that came to the website. The average visitors now is about 90 to 92 million a year that hit the website, and we get about 1,000 case requests a day. So with that, we have the TAPS family groups, which if you ever go tapsfamily.com, it's groups all through the United States and every state, but also 14 other countries. So when we get a case in, it can go to whatever group is closest to get people help quickest, and that's what it's always been about. But when it's not being televised, when you ask us to figure out what's going on, you're asking us to come in and really dive into your life. So we need to know, and we'll figure out medications you're on, self-medicated, under-medicated, over-medicated, you name it, all these things. Alcohol, drugs,
your
abuse,
personal life.
physical abuse, sexual abuse, you name it, because all these factors can come into play. We'll go through your book collection, your DVD collection. I mean, if every book and DVD you own is about ghosts, well, that's telling me that you're so embedded into it. So we dive into your life, and we're looking for real answers of what's going on. So, and most people appreciate that. Some people do not appreciate that.
Like, are you working with the CIA? Because
Well, I mean, it's tough because when you see people who are, over-medicated, under-medicated, self-medicating, and, a lot of times that comes into play. It has nothing to do with the paranormal. But you need to take those things into consideration. Not every case has a ghost, and just because somebody wants to write a book about it.
So when you've gone into someone's house, a good example of something that you were able to definitely nail down, figure out why it was there, maybe get rid of it or make friends with it?
No, we don't get rid of things. No, we can only give you, as we go there to document it and try to figure out what's going on. And if we do believe that there is paranormal activity, then we'll help try to empower you with knowledge of how you can coexist or how you can try to get something to move on. But I'm never going to tell somebody I can get something to leave that scientifically right now I can't even prove is there in the first place. I can show you proof of what we were able to document, but I can't scientifically prove that something is there, and I'm never going to promise somebody something that I can't come through on.
And also, it just makes people feel better after we go in and we figure out what we think might be going on. That right then makes them feel better.
So they're not
So,
crazy.
yeah,
They're like, okay, so there is something.
Well, I'm
And a
not
lot
saying
of
that.
them- It could be that.
I mean, there are some. to be honest.
But I mean, just for that, a lot of people just feel more comfortable, and then they're fine living with it as long as they know everything's okay. And
Yeah, because I mean, let's be honest, Hollywood is what makes the paranormal scary. It really is. The scariest thing's the frickin' living. I mean, because those are the people that can hurt you. I'm not scared the least bit of the paranormal. I'm scared to death of the frickin' living. I never know who's on the other side of that door. I mean, even as a plumber, and yes, I'm still really a plumber.
I need to make an appointment with
well,
you.
you know,
Shout out.
Absolutely. But even as a plumber, I learned that a long time ago that I never know who's on the other side of that door. And to situations where at one point, even doing a plumbing job, I had to hold a crackhead down with my foot on his head until the cops came. So you never know what you're walking into, so you need to be prepared for anything.
And so, there's so many people that say they are ghost hunters, where they have all this equipment and they can have a YouTube channel or a podcast, but that's not really how it works.
Seems to for them.
But for you guys, I mean, I feel like you're
I
the
think
real
people-
deal, and I feel
I
like
think people need to check everybody out. If you're going to follow somebody, I think you need to really look into that person, that person's ethics, where they stand, their beliefs, how they do things, and then draw your own conclusion. I'm never going to tell you, just like I hate when people out there say, yeah, they're experts in the field. You're experts in the field that you scientifically can't even prove exists. It makes no sense. There's no experts. There's people who've investigated for longer periods of time than others, and have maybe handled more types of cases, but there's no experts in this field. But I think everybody needs to, if they need help, they need to dive deep into finding the right individual. I'm not going to come to your house. I'm not going to sit there and tell you, well, you got a demonic presence, and for these $500 candles, I can get it out of your house. Or, oh, this object in your house is haunted. Let me take it out of your house, then put it in a museum and charge people money to come into my house to see your object. There's so many charlatans, there's just some horrible people out there in this field. So you got to draw your own conclusion from there.
So rewinding a bit, how did you get started doing this?
You want to?
Both of you.
Yeah, you've talked like one sentence.
I know. Well, you don't shut up.
You have the floor.
No, I've experienced things when I was younger, but I was always, you don't want to. I never saw it. I didn't hear anything, so I would always ignore it when I was younger. But I did live in a home that became active, and doors opening and closing, lights on and off, footsteps, knockings, all of that. But one particular night, there was, I just came back home from my ex-boyfriend's house. And as soon as like I got into bed, something grabbed my ankles and held my ankles down. And I kind of like lifted up to see what was there. There was nothing there, but then they grabbed my wrist, put my wrist down. And then, so I was trying to get out and I was trying to yell to my parents down the hallway, but then they put their hand over my mouth and pushed my head down.
And how old were you?
Mid-20s.
You're still mid-20s.
And then as soon as that happened, a doppelganger of my boyfriend, who I just left, appeared at the bottom of the bed. And so for a split second, I didn't understand, like, am I still over his house? Is he over here? Like, I just couldn't understand how he was standing right there. He then came over and just kind of leaned down over me. He didn't have a face, it was kind of like that dark, if you're like looking at the sky at midnight, like that dark look. So that was his face, but everything else was the same. The sweatpants, the hair, the shape, everything was him. I don't know how long he stood there for. I have no idea. I can't remember. But then he just kind of got up and then he walked. And I just remember hearing like his footsteps in the carpet, his thighs kind of, that rustling sound. And then the door was over there. The door opened. He went out. I just noticed there was nothing below his knees. Sorry, long story. Then the door shut, and then like everything was lifted off. So ever since that night was kind of when I was really scared, because the amount of pressure, like I felt the hands and everything, the fingers and stuff. I couldn't yell, I couldn't talk, I couldn't move. So I just didn't understand how that can have so much energy, and to hold me down and stuff. So ever since that night is when I really got into it. This is back in the 90s.
Are you going to tell me that he died? Was that his ghost?
No,
I was waiting for the rest of it.
No,
And it
he is
turns
now
out
my
he
ex-husband.
had- Okay. I thought he like died after you left him, and I'm like,
No.
did he get cut off at the knees? Is that
No,
why?
I think maybe somebody was warning me not to get married or
Okay.
something. Yeah. But
So
that was
usually when you
fine.
do think of an apparition or a ghost, a spirit, it is someone who has passed.
I just think it's like a doppelganger. Like maybe he just wasn't trying to scare me.
Yeah,
He
but
was
no,
just
I'm-
trying to.
I mean, there's been cases where people are still alive,
Yeah.
and there's been apparitions of them. It's just a residual type haunt. So from a traumatic experience. So we've worked on cases where people have seen themselves, things that have happened in the past. It's just a traumatic experience that could be trapped in a rock that makes a part of the foundation, right? It's just called a residual haunt. You don't have to be dead for a residual haunt to happen. It just has to be a traumatic enough experience for whatever energy to transfer somewhere.
I've never heard that before. Has anyone heard that before? Yes, okay, never mind. I didn't ask you that. Very interesting. And how did you get started?
Yeah, because I forgot the question because it
I
took
know,
a
I was
half hour
like,
for her to
that's
answer
so
it.
cool, and I think he's dead now, so go ahead.
No. I never really cared or thought about the paranormal, but back when I was about 19, I had my own experience, which from there, I'm one of those people who try to figure out how things are possible. And looking around or reading up, I wasn't impressed by everybody calling dust orbs and ghosts and everything else, so I just started looking for the answers myself. And that's where it
You're not
taps.
going to share your experience?
No,
of
no.
Yourself haunting yourself or anything?
No, I had my own experience. And it was, I saw something that I didn't think was possible. So from there, it was just, I wasn't held down by anything. I mean, that sounded like a great night, Sherry, to be honest with you. Like a typical Saturday night for you, Sherry. So, sorry, guys, if anybody knows, her and I have known each other for like 20 plus years, so we give each other a hard time. So. Me a little better because I'm quicker with it than she is.
That's just because you keep talking.
It is. Well, because I keep talking, so she can't think quick enough to respond. It's easy.
She gives us a great story, and you're like, I did it.
I mean,
That's the end.
She looks good, whatever. So
when you come into someone's house and you've done all the backstory, the research, and everything.
we don't research before we go into a house.
Well, I mean, like their medications.
Yeah. Well, no, and again, so when we go to a location, we don't do the research of the location prior. Because here's the thing: if I find out that a boy by the name of Timmy died in a fire at a certain point, I'm already biased now. I'm going to go in trying to contact a boy by the name of Timmy who died in the fire. I want to go in without knowing any of that, do an investigation for a few days, see if anything I catch, then do a historical documentation or whatever on the property, and see if anything I've caught connects with that, instead of going and researching and finding out ahead of time and then going in bias. So, but we'll, when it comes down to dealing with a family, yeah, we'll go in and we'll, at that point, we'll interview them, do a psych eval, whatever, and we'll go through their, what types of medication they're on, any situations like that, and
Go over all the claims that they think is going on.
yeah, and what you guys see on the show is a very small piece. Like, say, depending on the investigation, you know, off the show, we'll go in, we'll set up cameras for 3-4 days while the family's there, and we're not. Because, you know, for the first day or two, that family is going to know they're on camera, so they're gonna act different. But then, by that second day, they start falling back into the same routine. They start forgetting that the camera's there. So you start seeing the true people, and you start seeing what's going on. And I mean, we've had situations where we set up that, and we've found that there is sexual abuse, there's physical abuse, there's, you know, alcohol issues, drug issues, because people will make that quick little mistake on camera. Cameras are rolling. But now these are their personal videos, so those never go anywhere. I mean, those are given to those people because there's no reason for us to have any of that stuff. It's just for us to figure out what's going on to help them.
And we're not gonna air those either.
No.
That's personal.
So do you both have, I guess, I don't know, the intuition or ability if you walk into a room and you're like, oh, it's haunted here? Do you feel that immediately? Just in your everyday life, you walk in somewhere and you're like,
Well,
something isn't right here.
Here's the thing. So if somebody goes to 1,000 so-called haunted locations, and out of 1,000 of those, 100 of those are haunted, your body's going to remember how you felt at those 100. So does that make you psychic? No, but it makes you more sensitive than somebody who hasn't had the ability to go to 1,000 so-called haunted and feel how 100 of those were actually haunted. So it makes you more sensitive to pick up on the little changes, like there's definitely something going on here. But no, I mean, we're not going in as psychics or sensitives like that. No.
Yeah, and when I see a location, I don't automatically think haunted. Me, it's a beautiful location, but you know, I need to obviously have my machines going off and everything else. Like I know what I can feel, but I don't know if that's like the real truth, you know. So I definitely need all my machines and everything else going on.
So talk about the machines you use. How does it pick up the supernatural? Anything that could be happening?
Well, most of them pick up fluctuations in different types of energy, whether it's electromagnetic fields or things like that. But I mean, the majority of the things we're using are, most claims, a lot of people ask, why do you investigate it in the dark? And most claims are in between the hours of 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. So, and it's usually when the house is quiet and dark. So that's, we're gonna investigate when those claims are. And most people's claims are things that, shadow entities or things that emit their own light. So now that explains why we start using IR, because in IR, shadows and anything that emits its own light are going to show up more with using those types of cameras. And also thermal, because people talk about temperature fluctuations. Woohoo!
I think there's a trivia contest across the
And then we
way.
use different things, and also like we've been working very close with my good friend Sean from Ghost Stop on different types of devices that pick up any types of movement or the change of air in certain areas. So I mean, the devices are endless. There's very few people out there who make equipment that's specifically designed for investigating claims of the paranormal. So you need to take equipment that's already out there and modify it for your own needs, your own purposes.
So, and then if you go in and you find out Timmy died here years ago, that's probably explaining that, whatever. But if you go in and you're like, perhaps that's a personal thing, like, I keep seeing something, I think maybe it's my grandma telling me something. How do you help those people work that through? That seems like a you
No,
question.
like if they're telling us they think it's grandma, again, we're gonna go through all of our stuff that we normally go through. We'll ask, Grandma, are you here? But if she doesn't respond, like with either a recorder or any of our machines, there's no answer there. She could be here, she might not be.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to, does it put the person in a better emotional state to believe that their grandmother is contacting them? Now, if I'm not documenting anything or catching anything, I can easily say, I haven't documented anything, but maybe your grandmother's connecting with you, because of that connection you guys have. I'm okay with saying that to somebody if it keeps them in a positive mindset, but I'm not going to sit there and tell them that they have something in their house if I don't believe they have something in their house. So I think there's a fine line there, because you're not just there to try to figure out what's going on paranormal-wise, because a lot of these issues have to do with the individual as well. So you're also looking out for that individual's psychological aspects, where they are. So you want to make sure that they're in a good place, in a positive place, but you also want to make sure that they're not in fear, they're not terrified when they're in their own home.
I mean, I always do say, like, if you feel that it's somebody, whoever it is, that usually it would be. Like, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's how I am, very spiritual.
Yeah.
So if I feel, grandma, grandpa around here, that's who I think is there. So I usually tell them.
And I'm not the least bit spiritual, so we go and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Completely different perspectives on it.
And I think that's important, though. It's every person investigates differently. I think you need to find people that you're friends with, that you respect, that you trust, that you have faith in, and let each person be their own. We're going to do things differently, and we're going to handle situations differently. There's been cases where I've been on where, the homeowner becomes combative, argumentative, and I'm the perfect guy to have on that. But then again, sometimes it takes somebody like Sherry or Steve who can have more of an emotional, presence to calm down. I mean, there's been times that Sherry's been like, hey, bring it down a little bit. So, and I get it, but I'm a hardened plumber out of New England, so I say what I say, and I don't think a lot of times on how that's going to affect or come across to somebody. So, and it takes somebody who's a lot softer to lighten up.
Empathetic?
What?
Empathetic?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you said pathetic.
No.
You know what?
Empathetic.
I got 6 kids. They all survived. So it's like I've done something all right.
So have you ever had like a real life crossover where you're plumbing and you're like, whoa, there's also something here?
Oh yeah. I was called in to replace all the plumbing in the Aldridge Mansion in Rhode Island in Warwick, and it was down in the basement. And that place has been notoriously said to be haunted, and family jumping off balconies, taking their lives. Now it's owned by the Archdiocese of Providence, and I was in there, and crazy crap was going on in the basement. It's to the point where, at that point, I had just actually trained Grant as a plumber, and I called him. I'm like, hey man, you gotta come over here and hang out with me. He's like, why? I'm like, because I don't know what the hell's happening, and I'm kind of intimidated about what is going to keep on happening. So yeah, I've had that situation.
And so, is it possible, people say, well, I have this doll, and it keeps looking at me, doing weird things. Is it possible for it to be possessed by something demonish? I'm just gonna keep using that
You know
word.
what? All right,
Push the button.
Let's be honest. If you're gonna get your ass whooped by a doll, I think you got bigger issues. I really do. It's a doll. You throw it to your friggin' animal. Throw it to your dog. Do something. I mean, it's a doll. I mean, this. I don't know. This shit drives me
Nobody's
crazy.
ever been killed by a doll before.
Are you sure? I'm just thinking, okay.
Shit drives me crazy. It really does. You know what? I'm biting my tongue here. I know there's kids in here, so I know there's kids and I love y'all. Yeah, dolls, that's just complete bullshit.
So this is probably another more empathetic question, but
You might want to go with Sherry.
I know Sherry. We're BFFs now. Have you ever had an experience yourself, or someone's told you a story of they're dreaming, but they're being maybe visited or haunted even in their dreams, and they can't get rid of it? Like, it just keeps happening. Not necessarily a premonition, but just, I keep getting visited. How do I resolve this? Because obviously that's something paranormal happening. I think.
For me, when people say that they're dreaming things, I'm spiritual, so I always think, something is, coming through at that point in time when you're sleeping and in that state. But you kind of have to pay attention to what they're trying to say and everything. And again, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a medium. I have no idea. It's just personal experiences. I'm just trying to figure out what they're trying to say, and that's the way to stop it, because then they've already said what they're trying to say. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not a professional dream person either, so I don't know.
I just wondered if those two things kind of ever cross over, like, you know, I'm having this weird feeling in my house, and I'm having this weird stuff. Now I'm having these dreams, so maybe it's all tying together.
But from a psychological point, if they're having experiences in their house subconsciously when they're going to sleep, they could be honestly just so stressful of that scenario or what's going on in their house that they're bringing it into their dream. So I think even from a scientific standpoint, you need to put the dream aspect aside.
But also, if people are dreaming a lot, we do the EMF sweep around there, because very high EMFs will also give you all that. It's like, you know, like nightmares and everything, headaches or whatever. So that would be kind of the first thing that we actually do.
I got nothing. Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of people want to know if Ghost Hunters is coming back in any form, version.
So we're in talks right now. The nice thing about Ghost Hunters is we're the one show out there that's not owned by a network. And that was the reason I signed the deal to do the show with Sci-Fi in the first place was we were able to retain all rights because Discovery Channel initially wanted it. And I'm not going to work for a production company. I'm not going to work for a network, because then they tell you how the show is going to go. And the nice thing about Ghost Hunters, and you know, Sherry can even attest to this, production works for me. I don't work for them. So if I have a problem with somebody, well, they better hope that gets resolved because they're going home. But production 100% works for me. I'm in charge. And it's nice because nobody tells us where to go. Nobody tells us what to do. Or say. Yeah. Yeah, and these guys have been with me for, 15, 16, 17 years. So we go in, we do what we do, they roll their cameras, they stay out of our ways. So it's nice that way. And with, right now, we're in talks with a couple of the networks, because we're able to, if I don't like the direction that a network's going, we could go somewhere else. So we're in talks with some others right now, because I haven't re-signed any agreement to do more shows. I just, I think when it comes down to it, if I see too much demonic crap or just blown out of proportion, like, oh, this haunted toilet. I think I'm all set on that path.
You haven't seen my.
I'm just not. You know what? I'm not willing to sell my ethics for anything or for anyone, any network. It's not about that for me. It never has been.
And I've been on many interviews for other shows, and they video you and you question and answer, but they'll like stop it, and so that I'm not being recorded, and they'll tell me what they want me to say, and I'm like, that's not how I feel, that's not how I work, that's not me. So, and there was many interviews like that. They're all trying to tell you what to say, what to do, how to feel, and that's not.
No, I mean, that's not when they're producing you. I mean, that's ridiculous, because then if a network owns you, then they're telling you what to do, and they're able to manipulate your evidence. They're able to do everything, and they're not able to touch anything when it comes down to mine.
Yeah, and also.
And I sign off on every show before it airs. I watch every show. I say what I want replaced, what I want added. I mean, you name it.
And also, the difference is that we are actual paranormal investigators, unlike some other shows.
We weren't casted.
Yeah, they were not investigators. So that's what we are. But they're just casted to be on the show, just to act like.
And sometimes you've taken along different celebrities on your investigations. Talk about one of your favorite.
Oh, there's only one that's my favorite, and it was one of my dearest friends, Meatloaf. So, yeah, he was, he was family. He was. I mean, he randomly FaceTimed my kids, and, we just, him and his wife, Deb, phenomenal. I have known Meatloaf's daughters and everything else. He was truly family. So, I mean.
Did he have anything at his house? Is that how you connected, or?
Well, he was a firm believer in the paranormal. It's crazy, but Meatloaf actually had things autographed from me at his house, and that's no joke. It's the strangest thing in the world. But yeah, and I mean, just an amazing soul. And you know, because he had moved out to Tennessee, and we went to Jonesboro, and we were filming out there. And I had texted him like, "Hey man, I'm going to be out in the area." He's like, "I'm there." So next thing you know, he showed up, and you know, so he investigated with us. And I told him, I said, "Hey, in a couple weeks, I'll get the cut. We'll sit down together. We'll watch the show." And it was just a couple days before I got that cut that we ended up losing him, and you know, it sucks. It really does. But now, guys, in all, what questions do you all have?
Yes.
Are the people out there have questions for us? Yeah, go ahead, man.
So you've been to Waverly, right?
Yeah.
Do you really believe that Waverly is actually haunted?
I firmly believe that there's paranormal activity at Waverly. I mean, the amount of people who've passed away there, the activity that we've documented there, the things that have gone on, absolutely. 100%. So, yeah. Well, you've been walking all day. You sit down, woman. I got this.
Does he boss you like that too?
This is how we do this shit. Here we go.
Listen,
I was wondering about the old Julian prison. I watched your show with the Destiny Fear back in, and I loved it. And her and I went there, and I was like, I just wanted to know what's your opinion on that, on that destination.
On the Missouri State Pen or whatever it's called. Old Joliet Prison. I mean, it's an interesting place. I mean, it's also, you need to take into consideration that so much of it's open to the elements to get to deal with the contamination issues and things. And well, that's where all those wood chucks were.
There was a lot of gunfire.
Yeah, that's true too. So, I mean, it's an interesting location. It's got a great history behind it. You know, Destination Fear guys, I love Dakota and them. They're great people. You know, and their investigation style is very, very different than ours, because I don't think it's based on more of investigating. It's based on more of fear. What brings, and a lot of people don't realize that. So, but I mean, the place was great. I had a blast there.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, the Ghost Adventures guys. I didn't say, no. What, Ghost Adventures gave Destination Fear guys a bad name? Oh. Yeah, you know, honestly, I've talked to Zach once in my life. That's enough, and I wish him the best. You know, yeah, we do things very differently.
Have you ever been to the Rialto?
Rialto, yeah, I've actually been on stage there.
Have you experienced anything?
Rialto Theater, we call it a crazy thing where I think it's online too, you can check it out, but we call it what appeared to be like a woman walk towards a railing. Yeah, in the upper part. That's our footage, yep. All right, let's hang on. I'm running around here, hang on.
Hurry.
Oh, yeah, shut up, woman.
What do you think about shadow people, and how often do you feel like they are seen?
All right, my belief on shadow people are that there's, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a shadow entity, it's negative. No, I believe that it's most of the time it's a human spirit that can't fully manifest itself, that has no negative aspects to it. So, anything
No,
different thought?
I mean, same thing. I think I see more shadow people than anything else. Either, I mean, they could just stand there. They could go, really fast. I mean, I see them a lot. Yeah.
All right. Talk to the mic.
I know. I'm nervous. Oh, but what you were saying about your story, would it be like a skinwalker? Like you said, like a doppelganger.
You know what? Well, the other, again, it's a long story, but my mother actually saw a spirit there constantly, and she said she called it Abe because it looked like Abe Lincoln, the tall, the hat and the beard, the jacket. I never saw that, so I don't know if it's just I never went back to investigate, so I don't know if it's the same entity that's kind of going into different bodies, or if that's two different. I have no idea, and I'll never know. I never actually went back.
I wanted to see if you would look at this and tell me if you think it's anything, because it's just a motion picture.
Just bring it to me. I'll take care of it. Thanks. Yeah.
I was just wondering, as far as like some of the newer technology that's supposed to pull words out of thin air, so to speak.
Bullshit.
Like,
It's not bullshit. Man, you can't tell me, all right, you can't tell me that I'm going to take a ghost from the 1800s and in an hour or two teach them, if they get a device up to a certain level, that it's going to say a certain word. They don't even, to them, there's no such thing as a device. They know nothing about it. It's complete bullshit. It's a random word generator, or some of them that people actually program words into. I can get one, I can program all demonic names into it and tell you I'm talking to Satan himself. It's complete bullshit. There's so much out there of it. I'm sorry, I call it as it is.
Have you all been to the Amityville house?
I have not. And honestly, I knew George Lutz when he was alive, and you know, I think he capitalized on the murders of the Fayol family. So, anytime.
First of all, I want to say that when I was growing up, you guys scared the shit out of me. So much so that my mom contacted my sweet little old grandmother to tell her about, oh, she's afraid of the ghosts and stuff. And my great grandmother was like, oh, she believes in ghosts. I could take her to church, to the Catholic church. It did not help. But I did want to ask you, childhood trauma aside, fuck you. Is there any place that you would not, like, you think, oh, that's off limits, I don't want to go there, that's too much?
I've been asked to investigate 9/11 Heritage Memorial. I refuse. I mean, out of respect. I've been asked to investigate some of the Jewish concentration camps. No, I'm also, I won't. Yeah, just out of respect for those who lost their lives in such a horrible way. I mean, I just couldn't do it, and I wouldn't do it. I mean, and they're like, "Oh, do it for television." No, I'm not going to do it for anything. It's not about that for us. So, Sherry, you still there?
I'm here.
All right.
When my daughter was young, she used to see a ghost with a top hat, and she said it looked like Abraham Lincoln. And then we found out you used to have a board or whatever that you followed the top hat ghost. And when she found out about that, she about freaked out because she always thought, I always said it was just her brother coming home because he's tall. But then it was vindicated that, yeah, there's a top hat ghost.
Well, there's a type of a haunting. A lot of people call it top hat hand, and it's been seen all over the world. But there's different reports. Some people automatically, oh, it's a top hat man. It's this evil thing coming out of the corners, and a lot of times that's where he's claimed to be in the corners of children's bedrooms. But there's also been claims of him leaning out and telling a child when to be quiet. Like we had a case where a father, abusive father, alcoholic, come home and he beat the hell out of the kid. So this man has leaned out and told the child to be quiet as the father was standing in the hallway listening to the door to hear if his kid was up. So there's a lot of reports of him also helping in his own way as well. Yeah. Yep, top hat man, yeah. It's creepy, but I mean, some of the reports are actually kind of, heartening. Yes.
Why do you ghost hunt?
Because people need help, and we try to help them as best as we can. Okay? Thank you.
Our granddaughter's 4 years old now. But about a year and a half, 2 years old, she started seeing something in our house. Was there something I could do to help? I can't see it. I can hear things at night. My sons hear things at night, but I've never actually seen anything. And what she's saying she's seeing, I can't see.
And it's not uncommon for children to be able to see things that adults can't. I mean, to a child, anything's possible. I'm not going to go into the news, but yeah, so anything's possible. They haven't been conditioned. They haven't been told what's real, what's not. They haven't been told that their invisible friend Bobby isn't really there. So they're more prone to see things, and a lot of times they grow out of it over time. So, but I mean, there's nothing scary about a child being able to see something. So I mean, it's actually empowering for them. I wouldn't be against it. And yeah, I've never raised any of my kids. My kids have grown up in a house where the paranormal is normal. So I mean, they all investigate, and yeah, exactly. So as long as you don't ever treat it like something she should be fearful of, then it'll actually be an empowering thing for her.
Maybe they can do like a video in the room to kind of see what they see and see maybe that'll pick up some voices or something, just so maybe you can understand what they're going through.
You look like you're so annoyed that I took your job.
The lights are blinding me, and I'm just paying attention.
You look good up
Talking
there,
about
though.
you up here, don't worry.
Our lights are off.
What is the most scariest place that you ever investigated?
Scariest place. What's the scariest place
I
you
know,
ever?
Again, like we always talk about this, like we don't get scared, it's like startled and everything. My scary moment in life was that being held down. Ever since then, with all the research and experiences that I've had, it wasn't, they're not scary anymore. It's more like you're trying to get in touch with somebody, you're trying to contact whoever it is, but you're also trying to do it scientifically too, you know, using these machines, and so it's more fascinating than anything.
Yeah, I don't look at places like being scary. I look at them as they're intriguing to me. So, like I said, the people who still live there are the scary ones. So, sometimes, depending. All right.
Hi, I've been a fan for like 20 years, I guess, or something. And one of my favorite episodes was the Eastern State Penitentiary. And I just thought maybe you could just talk a little bit about that because it seems like you caught a full body apparition.
I have no idea what the hell we caught there. It moved forward and it never seemed to turn around. It ran just as quickly backwards. And yeah, I heard somebody say, "Dude, run!" Yeah, yes. I think that guy said he's still running because I haven't seen him, which is fine. I mean, Eastern State was a wild investigation. I mean, it was a really interesting place. And what we caught there, because we were trying to figure out if anybody who worked there was still in there or anything else. I mean, the thing moved extremely fast in the dark, and somehow was able to avoid metal pipes that were sticking out of the wall, which were even stranger. So, but
Do you think that places like penitentiaries and sanitariums are places where there are like people who are troubled? Maybe that's a nice way of putting it. You know, are those spirits
More prone?
more aggressive? Because sometimes
well, I think
they feel it.
being in prison, you have to be more aggressive in the first place because that's just prison life. And secondly, you had people who were criminally insane, just violent individuals. And just the way a lot of people died in there was horrible. So traumatic experiences would explain why a lot of them were still around. Yeah, anytime.
This is kind of my standard question I ask everybody who does investigations, and I think you guys had, I could be wrong, don't hate me if I'm wrong, you had this, I think on the Mary Celeste, but what precautions do you take to not get outside influence on what you're doing?
What do you mean? What type of outside influence?
Like somebody else trying to mess with you and fake the footage because you're doing a show and they want it to be famous.
Oh, well, you always have to be prepared for that. I mean, we dealt with, what was it? Blue Moon, or whatever, the place in San Francisco. No, I don't know, the place in San Francisco that they had speakers built in the ceiling and everything else. But I mean, and Sci-Fi didn't want to air that episode. I fought with them. I made them air it. I mean, if they're stupid enough to do it, then we're going to show that shit.
Yeah, I backed off of that.
But so you always have to be prepared for that. There's always a chance somebody's going to mess with something. You want to say something?
I play Contra
Alright.
What are your thoughts on skinwalkers and wendigos and stuff like that?
I haven't seen one. I really haven't spent a lot of time investigating those claims. I'd be more than willing to check it out, but what's your thoughts?
I didn't hear.
Skinwalkers and Wendigos?
No, I usually don't. Any cryptid stuff, I'm kind of, I stick to those.
Yeah. Get kind of personal here. Sorry.
So I have a question, like paranormal investigators, to a paranormal investigator. What are your views on people charging for paranormal investigating?
I think anybody who charges people to help, I think it's, they're crooks, they're thieves. The fact, so here's the thing. All the TAPS family groups out there and stuff, they're a part of it. We've always been free of fee. It's always cost us money to go to an investigation to help people out because the rich, the poor, and everybody in between has these problems. If I'm charging money, I can only help those who could afford my services. And secondly, I'm going to charge people for something I scientifically can't even prove 100% exists. So there's so many factors in it. I mean, it's just, yeah, anybody doing that, they're a charlatan. You got to watch your back with it.
You said earlier that the living you are more scared of than the dead. So my question would be, on any investigation that you all been at, has there ever been something that has emotionally affected you all because the presence was so strong?
Well, there's a whole side of TAPS that doesn't air, and we do cases where we get sent out to write up preliminary reports on so-called possessions, demonic hauntings, things like that. And I mean, there's been some cases like that that have left you questioning how these things are possible. But yeah, not to the point where it's like I'm ready to walk away or anything, because no matter what, you're there to help out, no matter how bad it is. But out of demonic hauntings, possessions, 99.9% of those have nothing to do with the paranormal. Nothing. So these people who they're always working on possessions, or they're claiming they're demonologists because they read a book, and that's what it is. The demonologist, it's the study of demons. So if you read a book about demons, you can go out and claim you're a demonologist, unless you're trying to get sanctioned by the churches. It's just 99.9% of those have nothing to do with the paranormal. You'll never see somebody become possessed who's not religious. So, hey, there you go. Just don't be religious. You won't become possessed. You're safe. But it's always that. It's some kind of psychological disorder. I mean, there was a case that we were asked to investigate years back, and it was a young girl who her family believed she was possessed. She wasn't, and we went in, we checked it. We're like, she needs help. Well, there's another show that came in shortly after us, and they're like, this girl's possessed. We're going to put it on TV. And it was horrible. And the show was Paranormal State, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, and it was horrible because you saw this girl being used to try to boost ratings of a show when that was not what she needed help. It had nothing to do with demons or anything, and it was just horrible. I'm not going to do that. So.
Sorry, this one's kind of like his, but what place had the most lasting impact on you?
Most lasting impact. What place had the most lasting impact on you?
Well, you know my memory.
Yeah, she has the worst memory in the history.
I really do. Yeah, I don't know. I've been
Putting you on the
to
spot.
reruns.
What place? What place?
I don't know. You're doing good.
This
out
one
there. You
right
can
now,
go.
right here. So do you think, like, on the scientific side of things,
I think,
are there more
Let me just
paranormal?
answer this. I think most places, any place that I'm able to debunk, as the most lasting. No, because if I'm able to figure out what's truly going on and help the family out, well, then that's the lasting impression. Because that's what it's about. I know you guys see a lot of these commercial places that we go and film. The most important ones are the residential cases to me, because that's where we're truly helping somebody. We're helping a family. I mean, and there's cases to this day that I now see their kids that are 25, 35 years old, and it's treat us like part of the family because we were able to help them out. Thank you. I'm sorry, you go on.
Yeah, and and also I was going to say, yeah, it is a lot of the residential ones, I think, that are more, lasting because you're helping these families, children or whoever, you're helping them. So I think that's why there's so many, because we've done so many residential, so I can't really pinpoint.
Do you feel like there's more in the scientific realm, paranormal activity during certain moon cycles, or say perhaps the solar eclipse that's coming up? Are you expecting anything
No.
or where
No.
you should be to experience the most?
But there's more claims starting in fall. Of every year, there's more claims because you know what? It gets darker early. The heat in the house is turning on. The moisture in the floorboards is evaporating. So you're getting people who are home earlier. The house is popping. It's sounding like footsteps depending on the heat system. Spending more time there. So claims skyrocket. And you're going into fall, which now we got October, we got Halloween, all this stuff. So claims of paranormal activity skyrocket. But it doesn't actually justify as actual paranormal activity. It just justifies as actual claims of it. That's jump to the roof.
So in your experience,
you got a hell of a haircut, man.
Thanks. In your experience, have you ever really seen any evidence of an individual kind of being a magnet for paranormal activity?
We've seen cases where it's like somebody a loved one or something passes on and stays around, but not somebody actually like drawing these things into them.
A lot of people think that because there is so many people that we, you know, if we're doing like events and stuff like that, they'll say, I am a magnet, everybody comes to me, everybody. It's just not true. You know, but that's what people,
But they also
you know,
want
that's
to
what
charge.
people think.
They also want to charge $100 for a reading too. They'll say.
Yeah.
Go on. You're still talking. I just cut you off.
That's really all I got.
That's what you got. All right.
The end.
Was there anywhere you did not feel safe because like either the client or the activities that have happened there?
We've definitely had some places where we haven't felt safe due to the clients. Yeah.
You've had some really bad ones.
We had a case that we had, as we walked in, they had to rush us back out because the lady had a loaded 357 under her pillow, a shotgun behind her door. Her I think a prescription was half a mile long.
We also, places that we went to where there was people with, I don't know how you say it nowadays, but like
vagrants,
homeless.
yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, so they'll be there. So when we go in, sometimes we'll find some of them, they'll be doing drugs over here in this corner, or you know, like, so we have gotten into that.
Yes. We'll take a couple more. Yes.
So, question: when it comes to people that are faking, and you're able to find them, how do they get through the kind of the pre-process? If you say that, like you're talking about how you interview them beforehand, kind of get to know them, figure out things. How are they able to jump it? Is it just that they lie, and a lot of times it's kind of more commercial stuff, so it's not a house, so it's kind of less personal for the owner, maybe something like that?
That's a great question. But you need to remember, so when you're talking to these people initially before you go to investigate, you're doing it on the phone and stuff. So I mean, you're not there in person. You're not there to actually see things around the house or, you know, kind of judge how that person's communicating. Are they staring off different directions if they're talking to you? So you don't get the chance to really check out the property until you get there. And then it's just, you gotta look as deep as you can into everything. So, I'll get you in 1 second.
If you had to recommend a place, where would it be?
Well, some of my favorite places, like St. Augustine Lighthouse, one of my favorite places. Waverly Hills, I love. Stanley Hotel. Lep Castle in Ireland, phenomenal places. So, all right, get up here. What about you, Cher?
No, I was just gonna say I've never been to any of those.
That's why I said them.
That's like everything.
He's just over there bragging. Here, I've been here and there, and
bucket list.
It's hard to understand. He's going to be going to Waverly Hills, and he wants to know, with you being there, what floor did you experience the most experiences on?
Oh, geez. The second and the fourth floor, I think, were the best. And also, they got the tunnel. I don't want to call it what they actually call it, but yeah, it's a tunnel that they got. Yeah. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. You have fun. You could take her down to Waverly.
So my question is like, I respect how you guys are professional with your investigation. So at the end of your investigation, usually you sum up your conclusion of what you found or what you feel about. Is there a situation, and you don't have to name names, of where somebody you're helping doesn't respect or believe what you found is truthful?
Yeah, because when it comes down to, again, it's like some people want their place to be haunted no matter what, and I'm not there to be their friend. I'm there because they asked me to figure out what was going on. So, so some people get kind of crappy with it. Yeah.
Name names. Go ahead.
There's been a few.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of like private residential things that we do. I know, for example, there's a one woman who I went into her house, and there's my boyfriend's here, my boyfriend's here. Now, I don't want to say that her boyfriend's not there, as we said before, like, if that's going to make her feel better, okay? But she was falling asleep in front of me, and she was just like, you know, so whatever she was on, you know, then she fell asleep like this, and then she woke up, and then she's like, look at all this, and I'm like, but you just did, you know, like, you did that. I just want you to know that you did that, you know, so you're trying to be nice, but you're also trying to save your boyfriend didn't do that in a nice way. So there is unfortunately a lot of that because they want to believe this, but they need help also though, you know.
What's the most active place you've been to?
You know what, for me, I loved the Kennedy Argonaut Mines. I loved that place. I had a lot of stuff going on there, and I think that building that we were in was, you looking at your time? Now you're trying to rush me.
What's the time
We got
check?
pictures at 3. I was just looking at that.
Okay, so in the building, men were only allowed there. So for me to go in there,
Well,
because
women
there
would
was
say
like,
bad luck.
yes. So, you know,
That's what you
but
felt
we
every
got,
day.
you know, but we had so much, we even caught a name, somebody gave us a name, but, you know, that's sometimes his name. There was something that I experienced there that I never had before, which, and it was kind of happened twice. When I came out of this little cave thing that they did, it was almost like a big, like, netting came down, you know, but there was nothing there, but like I dumped everything, there was nothing there, and then later on, it almost did the same thing, like this huge crackling in the ceiling, and it sounded like it was crashing down on us, and it even felt that, like, you even had that feeling of things like falling down, like I actually screamed, I never screamed out of, you know, startled, but that was amazing, I loved that place.
I totally forgot the question. Sorry. What was it?
The most activity.
Jeez.
You answered that really. I think.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, St. Augustine Lighthouse, Waverly Hills, things like that. Guys, thank you so much. We got the pictures in just a few. I appreciate everything.